Disney Star Wars storytelling is absolutely bankrupt, and the latest The Bad Batch trailer confirms as they've brought back Asajj Ventress. You can hear the keys jangling. Those member berries are there, ripe for the plucking. At least that's what Disney Star Wars thinks. Before we get into this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Lucasfilm released the trailer for season 3 of Star Wars The Bad Batch, and it features the return of Asajj Ventress, despite her being killed off in the 2016 novel Dark Disciple. So I'm not going to go through the trailer right here. You can look at it over at thatparkplace.com. But basically, she returns. You hear her voice before you see her. She says, "I wasn't planning on killing you, but you're making it very tempting." She's then shown igniting a yellow lightsaber. From there, it's revealed she's no longer bald and has grown her hair out. And there you have it. That's what she looks like now. Doesn't really look like Asajj Ventress, if I'm being honest. Accompanying the trailer, Lucasfilm shared a quote from the show's supervising director, Brad Rao, claiming despite Ventress being alive after her demise in Star Wars Dark Disciple, the show will somehow, quote, align with the events of Star Wars Dark Disciple. This is what he said. "We love Asajj Ventress. She's a character that we've been wanting to tell more stories about. We don't want to spoil anything, but want fans to know that any new storytelling with Ventress will align with the events of Star Wars Dark Disciple." You can see even here she has the hair. She grew her hair out, I guess. She's got to have hair. Can't be bald, I guess. I don't know. Makes her unrecognizable, in my opinion. And then she has a love story with Quinlan Voss in this book, Star Wars Dark Disciple. And she's killed by Count Dooku. So this is what happens. She basically is, I guess she gets turned from the dark side to the good side. She gets a yellow lightsaber. Not really sure how all of that happens. Didn't read the book. Have no intention of reading the book. Don't really care about the book, if I'm being honest. But I did look up what happened to confirm that she did indeed die. And she does. This is what Christy Golden, the author, wrote. Ventress had been put into stasis shortly after her death and had been prepared respectfully at the temple. So very clear, after her death, she's dead. She would write just a couple paragraphs later. Asajj Ventress's face was tranquil. Her hair had been washed and combed. Her arms, their injuries repaired, had been folded over her midsection. They still bore the dark tracings of the Force lightning that had claimed her life. So again, she's dead. She was killed by Force lightning from Count Dooku. I think she jumps in front of the Force lightning that's aimed at Quinlan Voss. So pretty much sounds like they stole Luke Skywalker's story again and they gave it to Asajj Ventress. Shocking! Force is female. Did it in Star Wars Dark Disciple here. Ugh. They literally have no ideas over there. Absolutely zero ideas. So she was dead. They made it very clear she was dead. However, they did leave it open. So after Quinlan Voss and Obi-Wan Kenobi returned Ventress's body to Dathomir, Voss laid her to rest in the waters there. After her body was fully submerged, Golden wrote, "Tendrils of mist began to rise, green and glowing, green like the Dathomiri magics Ventress had spoken of, green like the water of life." So I don't know what happened after that. The archive library copy that I was looking at basically doesn't let you read past that. But I think this is pretty clear that they left the door open for her to return to life through these Dathomiri magics that we'd previously seen in the Clone Wars. I think this stuff is all anathema to the Force, to Star Wars in general. The dark side people cannot attain immortality, while you can find immortality through the light side. We see that. That's how you become a Force ghost. You become one with the Force. That's how you obtain immortality, whereas the dark side is a corruption of the Force. And you can't actually achieve immortality that way. Anakin, his whole thing is trying to stop, he's trying to save Padme from dying, right? And you can't stop those natural processes. but he wants to hold on to her so much. He tries to figure out a way to do that, and he sells his soul to Darth Sidious. I think Lucas actually says he sells his soul to Satan because he refers to Sidious as Satan. So, and then obviously you look at Sidious's story, right? Where he actually says that Plagueis had found a way to cheat death, but then he isn't able to cheat death because he can't save himself because Sidious kills him, and then whatever that magic that Plagueis had figured out was lost. If he ever had figured it out. We don't know if that's obviously a story coming from Sidious to try and lure Anakin to the dark side, convince him that you're not going to find it through the Jedi, which indeed was a lie, because you can find immortality through the Jedi by becoming one with the Force. So, it's an utterly stupid idea, anathema to Star Wars, but that's what they do now. They just don't care. They don't care. They don't care about anything over there. It's just it's awful. But what I found really interesting about this is I found this interview here with what's this guy's name? Brandon Auman, who was the executive producer and head writer for the Star Wars Resistance animated show, and he actually revealed there were plans to have Asajj Ventress show up in that show, but Dave Filoni said no. So this is what he said. He said, "We had Mika Gray, who originally early on was actually Asajj Ventress in the storyline. That was going to be an older version of Asajj Ventress, and that was Dave Filoni's idea. And we were even going to have a scene where Asajj Ventress takes on Kylo Ren. That was something that we had discussed very early on. And then eventually Filoni's notorious for sort of like changing his mind. And then down the line, as we were progressing and the story had Asajj, I wrote the story. And then he was like, you know what? If Asajj comes in, then it's just going to be like, that's all the fans are going to care about. They're only going to want Asajj. They're not going to care about any of the other characters. So Asajj Ventress was cut from the show. Yet now they're bringing her back in Star Wars, The Bad Batch. Why? If it's going to be all about the Asajj show in Star Wars Resistance, is it not going to be that way in The Bad Batch now? Seems interesting that you would do it now. I think the timing shows that the Walt Disney Company is very desperate for viewership, and all they really have is member berries to try and get people to tune in, because anything else they've really created is just absolute garbage. I can't think of anything that is really good. I know Nick over at Echo Base, he says there were maybe 1 or 2 episodes of The Bad Batch that were good. I'm not sure. Haven't watched it. Don't plan on watching that show. So I can't confirm that. But he said he liked 2 episodes. But for the most part, they haven't created anything that's I would even call good or decent quality. It's been bad. It's been very bad. But the member berry stuff doesn't work. And I think a Star Wars Ahsoka is the perfect example of that, right? How much member berries was in that? You've got Clone Wars stuff. You've got Rebels stuff. You've got C-3PO showing up. You've got original trilogy stuff. You've got Thrawn showing up, which is obviously Rebels, but you could also say that's expanded universe member berries. All kinds of member berries in that show. It had worse total minutes watched than the Ahsoka season finale had less minutes watched than the Andor season finale. The show with all of the member berries had less minutes watched than a spin-off of Rogue One. So I think that's really all you need to say. The member berry stuff isn't working, but they're going to keep trying to do that because they've absolutely ruined the franchise, and that's all they really know what to do now. All they know what to do is go to member berries. Absolutely creatively bankrupt over there. And this is one of the things that Nelson Peltz talks about. They don't have a creative engine anymore. The people that they have working there are creatively bankrupt. And I think a lot of it is because they've infected themselves with the woke mind virus. When you're infected with the woke mind virus, you can't actually focus on true storytelling. You can't focus on beauty and what is good, because the woke mind virus is the opposite of all of that. And the Walt Disney Company is completely taken over by it. Star Wars is the perfect example. And bringing back Asajj Ventress shows just how creatively bankrupt it is once you've been attached to the woke mind virus. But let me know what you guys make of Disney Lucasfilm bringing back Asajj Ventress to try and get people to tune in to Star Wars The Bad Batch. Absolute desperation, in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, but to always speak the truth.